He walked into court not as a defendant, but as a blogger, and apparently the whole world needed front-row seats. The municipal courtroom hummed with the small sounds of ordinary trouble, paper sleeves sliding, a cough tucked into a fist, until the door swung, and a lanky 17-year-old in a hoodie floated in with his phone held high like a lantern. The red dot on the screen blinked. The kid angled it toward his face and whispered into the tiny mic, performative hush and all. "Okay, guys, watch how a judge reacts when you actually know your rights." A few people chuckled. Not kindly, more the sound you make when a stranger talks too loud on a bus. At the bench, Judge Caprio lifted his eyes, then his hand, then, deliberately, set his reading glasses down as if measuring the moment. "Young man," the judge said, voice even, "are you broadcasting these proceedings?" "Yes, sir, I am. Public space, public right. I saw on YouTube, this is allowed." The laughter this time had an edge. Caprio's eyebrows barely moved. "Is YouTube now the law of the United States?" "Technically," the boy ventured, "it's free speech, right?" "Not exactly," the judge replied. "And you're about to learn why." The room stilled. Somewhere in the back, a chair leg ticked against tile. The phone kept filming, its eye unblinking, catching everything, dust shimmering in the fluorescent wash, a uniformed officer shifting his weight, a woman in scrubs tightening her grip on a purse strap. Case: reckless operation of a vehicle. Name: Alex Rain, 17, with a following big enough to make rent in most towns. He positioned himself at the defendant's table like a host returning to set, glancing now and then at the chat scrolling across his screen. He didn't need to read it to know it was cheering. Caprio didn't rush. He folded his hands. The calm came off him like steady weather, the kind that makes you notice your own heartbeat. "Mr. Rain, we're not here for your channel. We're here because someone says you drove in a way that endangered other people. Do you understand why that matters more than your upload schedule?" Alex half smiled, the reflex of a boy who'd survived 100 awkward lives by talking through them. "Sir, it's just content. People like seeing real interactions." The judge considered him the way a craftsman examines a warped board, not unkindly, just fact-finding. "Real," he repeated. "We'll stay with real. Start by putting that camera face down on the table." A beat. Alex hesitated. The red dot was still blinking. Then he set the phone down, lens to wood, microphone up, as if the object itself were sulking. Around them, the courthouse seemed to lean in. Caprio's fingers brushed the rim of his glasses. "You came in certain the camera would protect you," he said, not raising his voice. "But in this room, we don't perform reality. We answer to it." Somewhere beyond the doors, traffic murmured. Inside, you could hear the dry rasp of the clerk's pen. The boy's jaw worked once, as if testing a word that wouldn't come. The judge lifted the citation. "So," Caprio said, settling the paper, "let's talk about what you did, and who had to move out of your way to keep breathing. Where are you watching from? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel." If you looked at Alex Rain, you'd see what America had learned to mass produce. A bright, restless teenager with a phone that never left his hand. But if you looked longer, past the hoodie and the practiced smirk, you'd catch something else. A quiet loneliness disguised as internet confidence. His mother, a nurse who worked the overnight shift at Miriam Hospital, used to tiptoe into his room at dawn and find the blue light still on. The wallpaper glowed with comments from people she would never meet, calling her son a legend, or insane in the best way. He called them his community. She called them strangers. At court, Judge Caprio leaned forward. "Tell me, Mr. Rain, why drive through a red light while filming yourself?" Alex shrugged. "It's content, sir. People love when you take a risk. I wasn't hurting anyone." "You think that's entertainment?" the judge asked. "I mean, it's not like I was robbing a bank. It's a show. I controlled the situation." The judge signaled the clerk. "Play the video." A technician connected the phone to the monitor. The screen flickered to life. Upbeat music, Alex grinning behind the wheel. "All right, guys, red light challenge. Let's go," he shouted into the camera. Laughter echoed faintly from the courtroom audience. Then the laughter stopped. The clip slowed. A woman pushing a stroller stepped off the curb. Headlights flashed. Tires shrieked. She stumbled backward, clutching the handle as the car whooshed by. Gasps rippled through the room. The judge didn't move. Only his eyes changed, sharpening, like glass catching light. You call that a show? He said quietly. That was someone's life. Alex's throat clicked. I didn't see her. It looked clear. His mother pressed a trembling hand to her lips. I told him, she whispered, voice breaking. I told him to stop recording while driving. He said if he stopped, people would forget him. Caprio turned to her gently. Ma'am, you don't owe this court an apology. Then, to Alex. But you might owe one to everyone who still walks across a street believing the rules mean something. The boy's bravado thinned. You could feel it leave him, like air escaping a balloon. No explosion, just a quiet collapse. He tried to look anywhere but at the monitor, where the frozen image of the frightened woman lingered. The comments under the video had said things like epic save, and that's wild bro. Now, under courtroom lights, every exclamation looked cruel. For the first time, Alex wasn't thinking about followers or likes. He was thinking about distance, how close he'd come to something irreversible, and how nobody online would have carried that weight for him. Caprio tapped his pen once. Tell me, son, when you pressed upload, what did you think you were giving people? Alex hesitated. Something real. The judge nodded slowly. You gave them fear and called it entertainment. The silence that followed wasn't courtroom silence anymore. It was the silence of realization, the kind that ends childhood without asking permission. When Judge Caprio asked about the money, the air in the courtroom changed. It wasn't anger yet. It was recognition, the slow tightening of something moral. How many views does this video have, Mr. Rain? Alex shifted. Around 2 million. And how much did you earn from it? He hesitated, half shrugging. Maybe $5,000. Ads, sponsors, it adds up. Caprio leaned back, the chair creaking softly. So, you filmed yourself breaking the law, risked lives doing it, and made a profit? Well, if you put it like that. Alex tried a smile that didn't quite arrive. The judge turned the citation face down. Interesting number. Because the fine for reckless operation is also $5,000. A low murmur rippled through the room. The math spoke for itself. Recklessness monetized, morality balanced on a ledger. Caprio studied the boy as though reading a headline written in invisible ink. Tell me, Alex, was this your first time using danger as entertainment? Alex opened his mouth, closed it, then looked at his shoes. Not really. People like when it feels risky. The algorithm pushes that stuff. If you play it safe, nobody watches. The judge nodded once, slowly. So you've learned that our culture rewards what could kill someone and punishes what's decent because it's dull. He turned toward the officer seated near the stand. Officer Hale, would you describe what happened the night you stopped Mr. Rain? The officer rose. Yes, Your Honor. I clocked him doing 45 in a 20 zone, ran the light, nearly clipped a pedestrian. When I approached the vehicle, he was filming me with the phone out the window. Told me, word for word. It's okay, officer, this is for content. Laughter, nervous, awkward, spilled from the benches. Caprio didn't smile. For content, he repeated softly, as if tasting a foreign word. That phrase will haunt us before this century ends. He looked back at Alex. You've turned the justice system into a backdrop. Police officers into props. Strangers into extras. Do you understand how dangerous that is? Alex's voice cracked. I wasn't trying to hurt anyone. I just wanted to build something. My dad left. My mom's always working online. At least people listen. The confession slipped out before he could stop it. The courtroom didn't breathe. Caprio rested his elbows on the bench. What they listen to, son, isn't you. It's noise. Noise dressed as courage. The boy swallowed hard. I thought if I got big enough, I'd matter. The judge nodded slowly, not unkindly. You matter because you're alive. Not because strangers clicked a heart on a screen. He let the words sit, heavy and absolute. Then, with quiet precision, he said, you earned $5,000 making a spectacle of what could have been a tragedy. Therefore, I sentence you to return that exact amount to the city's Victim Relief Fund. You will also spend 40 hours volunteering at the Rehabilitation Center for Crash Survivors. Gasps again. This time softer, less from shock than from a dawning sense of justice calibrated to the soul. Alex's mother lowered her head. Tears, not loud, but visible. Caprio continued, voice calm but unyielding. This court is not a stage. It is a reminder that laws are written in the ink of consequence. You may have fooled the internet, Mr. Rain, but the real world doesn't subscribe. He picked up his glasses, polished them with a cloth, and added, almost to himself, YouTube may make you famous, but the law will make you responsible. The clerk's pen scratched the sentence into record. The phone on the table lay silent, lens down, the red light gone dark. For a long moment, nobody moved. The camera that had once promised Alex visibility now reflected only the pale ceiling lights, cold, impartial, and very real. At some point, even Alex stopped knowing whether he was in court or still live on his channel. The fluorescent lights, the rows of faces, the camera lens on the table, all blurred into one surreal set where reality and performance tangled like faulty wires. Judge Caprio's voice broke through the haze. Everyone in this courtroom, please turn off your phones. That includes the one on the defendant's table. Alex blinked. Sir, people are waiting for my reaction. The judge's tone didn't rise, but it landed like a weight. Your reaction is not content. It's your life. The click of the phone's power button sounded louder than it should have. For the first time since entering, silence surrounded Alex instead of applause. The hum of the courtroom turned heavy, and in that quiet, his mother's restrained sob cut through like glass. Caprio turned toward her. Ma'am, how long has this fascination with the internet been going on? She dabbed her eyes with a tissue, trying to steady her breath. Since his father left. He said he didn't want to be invisible anymore. You know, it worked. He became someone people recognized. But I haven't seen my son in a long time. No one spoke. Even the officer by the door shifted his weight quietly, as if afraid to disturb what had just been laid bare. Caprio faced Alex again. Did you hear what your mother said? Alex's voice was small. Yes, sir. Then tell me. The judge asked softly. Who are you right now? A son or a persona? Alex's eyes lowered. I don't know. The judge nodded once, then called to the bailiff. Bring in Officer Grayson. A man in uniform stepped forward, older, scarred slightly along the jawline, with the unflappable calm of someone who'd seen too much. Officer, said Caprio, I understand you've met Mr. Rain before? Yes, Your Honor. A year ago. His voice was level, but edged with memory. We pulled him from a wreck off Elm Street. His car spun out filming a night drift video. When I asked if he was hurt, he just laughed. Said, keep rolling, this'll go viral. His hand was bleeding, but he wouldn't drop the phone. The room froze. Even the fluorescent hum felt muted. Caprio's hands folded, patient but firm. Mr. Rain, this isn't about statutes or fines anymore. This is about humanity. You've forgotten what real pain looks like. Alex didn't answer. He couldn't. His throat worked, but the words refused to surface. His gaze found the polished floor, the reflection of himself, distorted in the shine, half child, half ghost of an online creation. For the first time that morning, he wasn't fighting back. The edges of his bravado had frayed, leaving something raw and trembling beneath. The judge spoke again, softer now. When that officer found you bleeding, you thought the camera would protect you. You thought pain was just another clip to edit. But pain is the one thing that never needs a filter. Alex's breath caught. Caprio continued, each word slow, deliberate. You've been living for an audience that applauds danger but never shares the cost. Every risk, every near miss. It's been your body paying the bill for their entertainment. He paused, letting the truth sit heavy in the air. Alex looked up at his mother. She didn't say a word, just held his gaze with eyes that had spent years hoping he'd finally see himself. In that gaze, something shifted. The defiance that once carried him through every live stream flickered, then broke. For the first time, he felt the room instead of performing for it. The scuffed benches, the dust motes caught in the light, the faint sound of his mother's breath. The judge leaned forward. You want the world to watch you, Mr. Rain? Then start giving them something worth seeing. Alex's lips parted, but he only nodded. No defense, no excuses, just a quiet surrender. A boy realizing that maybe the thing he'd been filming his whole life wasn't content at all. It was his own disappearance. And now, for the first time, the camera was off, and reality had finally begun. When Judge Caprio began counting, each word struck like a gavel, measured, deliberate, and impossible to ignore. He opened a folder thick with paperwork. The thin shuffle of pages filled the silence. Mr. Rain, he said without looking up. This isn't your first violation, is it? Alex swallowed. No, sir. The judge tapped one page. Speeding tickets. Noise complaints. Unpaid fines, 3 of them. He lifted his eyes. Why didn't you pay them? Alex exhaled, shoulders slumping. I thought they weren't serious. Just warnings. Everybody gets them. Not serious, Caprio repeated, tasting the phrase like something sour. Tell me, what feels serious now? The boy's voice cracked. This. Caprio nodded once. Good. Because carelessness grows roots when you feed it excuses. He drew out the last document, a printout of YouTube earnings. You earned $5,000 for a video where you broke the law. So I'm issuing a fine for exactly that amount. Gasps circled the room, small ripples of disbelief. But, Caprio continued, you won't pay it to me. You'll pay it to your conscience. This money will go to the city's victim relief fund. People whose lives changed because someone thought danger was just a thrill. Alex blinked hard, jaw trembling. Yes, sir. The judge leaned forward, voice lowering. I'm not finished. You've built an audience by defying the rules. Now I'll give you a chance to build something better. He paused. If, within 2 weeks, you create a new video, not glorifying risk, but teaching responsibility, I'll cut your fine in half. But if you turn it into another spectacle, I'll double it. Whispers rippled through the benches. Even the bailiff looked surprised. Alex frowned slightly. And if I make it honest, really honest, you'll reduce it? Caprio's lips curved, just barely. I'll do more than that, Mr. Rain. I'll watch it. A low rumble of laughter and applause broke through the tension. For a moment, the courtroom didn't feel like a cage. It felt like a classroom. The judge raised his hand, waiting for quiet. Understand this, son. I'm not interested in punishing you. I'm interested in what you'll do with the lesson. You can turn this into redemption or repeat it as tragedy. He folded the papers and looked directly at Alex, the kind of gaze that carried both sternness and mercy. You decide now. Will you be an example or a warning? The boy nodded, tears threatening but held back. An example, sir. I'll try. Caprio gave a small, approving nod. Trying isn't the goal. Changing is. He reached for the gavel but didn't strike it yet. You've spent years chasing attention, Alex. Maybe it's time to earn respect instead. The words landed softer than punishment, but heavier than any fine. For the first time, Alex didn't feel filmed. He felt seen. The judge's gavel finally came down. One sharp, echoing sound that didn't end the story, but set a deadline for it. 2 weeks later, the courtroom was full again. Reporters lined the walls, students crowded the benches, even a few off-duty officers showed up. No one really knew what to expect. The buzz was softer than before, less curiosity, more anticipation. When Alex walked in, the silence deepened. Gone were the designer hoodie and the restless smirk. He wore a plain white shirt, sleeves rolled once, eyes clear but cautious. There was no camera, no streaming setup, no audience beyond the people who had seen him fail. Judge Caprio adjusted his glasses. Mr. Rain, he said, are you ready to show us your new video? Yes, sir, Alex answered. His voice didn't try to perform anymore. It simply carried. The clerk dimmed the lights. The screen flickered to life. It opened not with music or slogans, but with the quiet image of the same courtroom. Caprio's bench, the flag behind him, the empty chairs. A voiceover began, calm and steady. My name is Alex Rain. 2 weeks ago, I thought the internet was everything. I thought if people watched me, I mattered. But then I almost watched someone die because of me. The footage cut to his mother sitting at the kitchen table. The light was soft, morning pale. She smiled gently, though her eyes betrayed sleepless nights. I just want him to be happy, she said, not famous. Just happy. The next scene showed Alex at an elementary school gym, surrounded by kids in bright safety vests. He was laughing, not the exaggerated online laugh, but something real, unguarded. He was helping them shoot a short film about crossing the street safely. He pointed at the camera, guiding a little boy who held it with both hands. Make sure you're steady, he said, smiling. Real stories don't need filters. Laughter from the children filled the speakers. It wasn't polished. It was human. The final shot lingered on a chalkboard where Alex had written in big letters, "Think before you film. Lives aren't content." Then the screen faded to black. The courtroom didn't applaud. Not right away. The silence that followed was different this time. It wasn't uncomfortable. It was reverent. Caprio leaned forward. His tone softened. You didn't just make a video, Mr. Rain. You made a choice. Alex nodded slowly. I realized, sir, YouTube wasn't my enemy. I just didn't know how to use it right. The judge smiled, a quiet, approving smile that reached his eyes. The law isn't here to punish you. It's a mirror. And today, I believe you finally saw yourself in it. He paused, then lifted the file that had once held Alex's fines. Your penalty is reduced to $500. The rest will be donated to that very school. A soft gasp swept through the audience, then warm applause followed. Not thunderous, not viral, just honest. Alex turned toward his mother. She was crying again, but differently now. Pride, not fear. He walked to her and hugged her. Not for the camera, not for content, but because he'd run out of any other words. As they stepped out of the courtroom together, sunlight spilled across the marble floor. Reporters lifted phones, waiting for a quote, a shot, a viral line. But Alex didn't stop. He didn't pose. He walked past the flashes, past the doorway, into the day. The camera stayed off, and for the first time, someone truly saw him, without a lens between them. The world would remember the clip, of course, but the story that stayed wasn't about a judge or a YouTube scandal. It was about a boy who learned that fame ends where responsibility begins, and that sometimes the most powerful moment of your life isn't when everyone's watching, but when you finally don't need them to.